Hey guys, this is Kobe R. Rice, and as promised, I'm coming to you with another video review or vlog review on episode 4 of Scandal. I actually don't really know what this particular episode is called. I have to check it out on IMDb later, and I'll just put it in the description box below. But I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I don't really have much to say about Scandal. Except for the fact that I do realize that it's getting back into some cool stuff that we saw before that we want to see again. I'm glad that David and Abby are finally, banging again. That's a great thing. Not to be too crude, but I feel like they're both really uptight people. Although David, he has a really great sense of humor, so I really enjoy him. But they're way better together than they are apart personally. So I'm glad that that's back on track, and he doesn't have an attitude with her anymore. So that's great. Um, to be very honest with you, I haven't necessarily been that impressed with the lineup of the clients since episodes 3 and this episode today. The first episode, it's handled in the second episode where Olivia has to defend, the girl who was framed by the White House for having an affair with the president. Those are really good. There's like a lot of dramatic tension and a lot of we just didn't really know what was happening or what was going to happen. A lot of cloak and dagger kind of stuff, and that was interesting. But now we've sort of gotten into a mode where I feel like the show is snatching headlines and just sort of rolling with that. And to a certain extent, I mean, it's enough to float the episode, but I feel like we need something a little bit more original, something a little bit more personal, something a little bit more character driven than just like scandal driven. I think that I said that in my last review that I'd prefer to, pursue the characters more deeply. And I realized in season 1, all of the clients, again, they had their own personal issues, and some of them weren't really the good guys, and we sort of find this out in the episode as well. But for whatever reason, the twist for the clients worked out a lot better in seasons 1 and 2 than it is right now in season 3. And I'm not really sure why that is. I think partly, part of the reason is that I guess the character stories are sort of losing their emotional resonance. When you start just like grabbing things that are stereotypical out of the headlines or off the airwaves, and that's what happened in my opinion. But when you start doing that, I feel like you lose a bit of the originality, a bit of the personality, and I think that we need to dig a little bit deeper into, people who can be high profile but also have very unique stories. Like in season 1, I really enjoyed the story of the Reverend with his mistress. Okay, like it's sort of a story that's familiar, but we don't really pursue as often in the media. Um, and but the way that the interplay between the wife and the surviving mistress was, really phenomenal, and the way that it was just orchestrated was really awesome. Another episode that I really liked was the episode with the madam, who, she basically runs an escort business of beautiful young women in Washington, D.C. who service really wealthy, powerful clients such as senators, congressmen, all types of politicians. And that episode was really awesome in terms of I mean, it wasn't necessarily that was the deepest episode that Scandal had aired, but it definitely did have some emotional resonance with the madam herself being a grandmother. And anyway, you should see it in order to know what I'm talking about. But I think that there are just a couple of tropes once again that are still getting old, like the Huck being crazy and being bloodthirsty, and Quinn being all interested and all up his ass about what he does. I mean, we sort of explored that all throughout season 2, and um, I think I'm sort of done. Me personally, maybe you guys might have a different opinion, but I'm ready for Huck to have a new problem or to like again sort of move on. Because the way that his problems sort of evolved and developed in season 2, actually played a role in the entire like A and B story in terms of the president getting shot and almost assassinated, in terms of Defiance, in terms of the entire crew that was around Defiance, all that stuff. His storyline really, like, I felt like created a really lovely undercurrent and parallel to that. And I feel as though now his storyline or his emotional struggles are not only sort of hackneyed, but they are also, in my opinion, at this point, kind of meaningless, both internally and externally for him as a character. So I don't really know where we're going with that. We've seen him again. Again, we've seen him in the Alcoholics Anonymous setting, trying to get his life together. So that's not anything new. Quinn, um, I never really bought the fact that she was all interested in being a killer from the beginning. That was something I always struggled with, but I suspended belief just for the sake of enjoying the show. And I felt like I hoped that they would resolve that or drop that by the end of season 2. They didn't. They're trying to go with it now. And for me, it's just sort of not working. I sort of wish that she had just stayed on the hacker, spy route, and had just become good at what she did as a hacker and good at what she did as an attorney at Pope and Associates. This whole added sort of, psycho crazy woman who like is interested in death and that for me it's not really working. I mean, especially since in seasons 1 and 2, we spent a lot of time trying to exonerate Quinn from that stereotype or that pigeonhole that she was being shoved into by, Hollis and everybody else who wanted her to take the fall for the terrorist bombing at Citron, or wherever. That's the Citron card. Terrorist bombing at the place that her boyfriend worked at. So, yeah, I feel like once we solve that, yeah, she could be interested a little bit in what Huck does, and she could be good at what he does in terms of hacking, but why are we still going with like the Psycho Quinn route? I feel like she can be more. I don't really know in what direction we would put her, but she can be more. Jake Ballard, he is a character. I mean, a lot of people don't really like Jake. They feel like he's a nuisance. Personally, I really enjoy Jake. I find him, like, in terms of like what's more attractive, I feel like Jake is a lot sexier in personality and like just general aura than Fitzgerald Grant, personally. Even the name is sexier, and I'm sure the writers did that on purpose. But Jake also can be a little bit annoying. He's like obviously trying to get Olivia involved in his BS, and she doesn't want to be involved. And I feel like he should just sort of fall back and just like be the eye candy, which I think he sort of did towards the end of the episode. And he was being a hater. I was actually really shocked that and also amused that when Fitz called Olivia on the phone at her house, spoilers, by the way, always spoilers, when Fitz called Olivia on the phone at her house, Jake basically announced that he was there by, talking really loudly in the background on purpose so that Fitz would know that he was there. So that's an interesting and cool little rivalry they have between each other. Like, oh yeah, I'm still banging your girl kind of deal. Which is like hella trifling. But whatever, Fitz sort of just took that and did something with it. I don't know, but he definitely didn't really react. He sort of just put that in a separate corner, a separate compartment to deal with for later. And in the meanwhile, he's going to face down Olivia's dad, which I think is interesting. But yeah, a lot of people don't like Jake. I don't mind him. He provides like an interesting conflict of interest for Olivia. Although at this point, I do admit that I feel like Olivia's character is sort of enigmatic to me. I don't really know why she's so scared right now. Maybe I'm just not connecting with her emotional struggles, or I don't really take the evil of her father that seriously. I mean, I know that he's evil, but I'm not entirely convinced that he's going to hurt her in any way. So I guess I don't really see any danger to Olivia, except for the fact that her business is like plummeting right now. To the point where she has to take on shitty, lying, slimy clients. It's like her clients aren't even classy anymore, like, which kind of sucks. So yeah, I guess I'm not really attaching myself to that particular storyline so much. I feel like the best part of the episode was the last 10 minutes when you had like the conflict between Fitz, Jake, and Olivia, and that's not because like I just need a lot of senseless people banging each other, but because I felt like okay, finally we have like an actual problem or like some sort of contention where you're being pulled in two different directions and she has to make a decision. Um, I do admit that at that point in the episode, though, I was really annoyed with Olivia. Like, come on, son. We could root for you before for being like all love torn and shit for, President Fitz or whoever. And I even had your back when Jake swooped in and like saved you from yourself, at that point because you were so like rejected and alone and lonely, and he was like, the knight in shining armor. Fine, like you fell for him, he fell for you. He's hot, you're hot, things happen, fine, whatever. But after you found out that Jake and Fitz are like boys and tight, and you and Fitz, even though you can't be together, you have an understanding that you love each other and you're waiting for one another, even if it's going to be for the next 4 years. Like, why are you going to go back and like try to start sleeping with him again? Like, that's mad trifling. Now you just look hoish. I mean, I'm sorry, I have to put it out there. I'm being real. Sorry, Olivia Pope, but that's just how it is. I mean, you're smart and brilliant, but in this episode you really don't have things together, and it's okay not to have things together, but I'm sort of waiting for the real Olivia Pope to stand up at some point. If she has a really shitty client list, I expect Olivia Pope to go out and drum up her clients again. I mean, I understand that her name has been ruined and whatever, but I mean, we can solve our problems more by attacking them than by like sleeping with our boyfriend's best friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you just look really whack, Olivia. Get it together. So that's all I have to say on that. It was a decent episode. I just was so like invested. I loved seasons 1 and 2 so much, and it pulled me in. I just like had to just keep watching. Now I feel as though at this point I don't necessarily need to sit down exactly at 10 o'clock on Thursdays, which I hate to say. I mean, I hate saying that because I think the show is so brilliant. The writing is brilliant. Shonda Rhimes is brilliant. Kerry Washington, everybody is brilliant. I just don't know if the season has found its legs yet. I don't think it has really. I think the most interesting part of this right now is Operation Remington. And actually, it's kind of crazy, but I actually find for the first time since Scandal has ever aired, I'm finding President Fitzgerald Grant the most interesting character on the show. He seems now, like the more conflicted and complicated and complex person on the show in terms of who he is and who he wants to be and who he was and who he was forced to be back during Operation Remington, which obviously wasn't really good. So all the secrets and lies and conspiracies on that side of the pond, I'm more interested in that personally. I want to see more of Fitz Grant dealing with that and see him get kind of gangster. And that's a little bit shocking for me because, Olivia Pope, in my opinion, is the main character. And again, for the first time, her storyline to me is not the most interesting one, which is kind of crappy. So, yeah, that's sort of all I had to say. Again, we don't know anything about Harrison. He's just sort of ornamental, a lovely ornament because he's very attractive. Let's not fool ourselves by saying that he's not. He's very attractive, very charming. So we would like to see more of him and sort of what he's doing there. But again, the show is still trying to find itself. And I guess you're just going to have to wait. I understand, though, too, because I'm sure that the season after the huge popularity and support it's seen over the past 2 years, I'm sure the season has gotten a 22 episode order, which means that they're going to have to literally like push the scandals and like the entire series over the course of at least 18 more episodes. So there might be some dragging if there aren't really any stories popping out of the crew. There might be some, lagging, some like episodes that might seem a little bit non-essential unless they can start making it pop and give us that twisty turny plot that we love with the inner conflict, but like sort of new and fresh inner conflict. Like I think Scandal definitely explored a lot of people's issues in some very fascinating ways, but if they don't start exploring new avenues or sort of new perspectives on these issues, it's going to get really mundane really quickly. So that's all I have to say. Again, I'm not a writer on this show. I would love to be a writer on this show. And it's really hard to make good television, and the writers have done fantastically thus far. So don't take this as me coming down on Scandal. But like I said, I'm a diehard Scandal fan, and that also means I'm going to be critiquing Scandal for the writing, for the acting, for the episode and plot structure. So this is how I feel. I'll continue to show up every Thursday at 10 o'clock, but I'm hoping to be like really bowled over in the next coming episodes. In any case, post your comments below. Let me know how you feel about it or about anybody on the show, and I will see you guys later. Peace, and remember to keep it indie and don't set the trend. Bye.